Welcome, everyone. All right, I just saw that yesterday's choice of meditation reached you last night, not the night before. So I'm so sorry about that. A scheduling error on my part through MailChimp. All right, so today, December 22nd, is the O antiphon Orex Gentium. Orex Gentium. And it is technically King of the world. It's translated as King of all the nations. Sometimes translations say King of the Gentiles, desired of all who come. And I definitely want to take a more universal look at this. And so let me just read for you two passages that this O antiphon comes from. So the O antiphon itself is this: O King of the Gentiles and the desired of all, you are the cornerstone that binds two into one. Come and save us, whom you have fashioned out of clay. So that's the semi-literal translation of the O antiphon, and it is inspired by the passage in Isaiah chapter 28. Therefore, thus says the Lord, see, I am laying a stone in Zion, a stone that has been tested, a precious cornerstone as a sure foundation. And one line in the New Testament that points to this and speaks of this we can find in Ephesians. He it is who is our peace and who made the two of us one by breaking down the barrier of hostility that kept us apart. And it's referring, of course, to the community in Ephesians and how people of different traditions, and here it's generalized, right, into Judaic and Gentile, but it was probably even more mixed or nuanced than that. And it's pointing to this O antiphon being that there is a cornerstone that unites all, that unites all. So today's focus is about peace in our world, peace within ourselves, but in a particular way, peace in our world. There are two poems that I want to insert into our reflection time today as giving a little bit of light to that way. We are aware that there are wars going on, struggles going on. And these struggles that have now shown up with great hostility are only giving expression to what was there all along to some degree, right? War is usually the pimple bursting, but the pimple was there. Maybe the pimple was under the skin, maybe it was starting to show up and not break open yet. And war is unfortunately the final dividing part. And I think what one of the saddest things is when we have wars happening in the world, wars, is that war seems to make division more black and white, make it even harder to come together. And as Ephesians said, realizing that we're called to unity and harmony. And wars can exacerbate and involve entities that aren't even a part of the original argument, concretizing things even more with more people on sides, more ideologies, more money going to sides, hence making division in humanity even larger. And I think that's one of the deepest anguishes with war is what is truly lost in all of those divisions is the innocence. That people that really aren't a part of the core of the argument, individuals who are innocent. We talk about children, we talk about the civilians, if you will. But nonetheless, the people that are truly deeply wounded, even the people that are fighting may be doing so at the order of someone else who has the power. So, really, when you get down to a division, usually it's something that has an essential seed to it. And instead of working with that seed and staying with that seed through dialogue, through conflict resolution, through mediation, it seems to exacerbate and become a plant that then divides and unfortunately affects a lot of people. So when we look at this O antiphon, I like personally in understanding it in this universal way that there are God principles that are here, what? To heal hostility, to break down those barriers that keep us apart. And our divine work isn't praying for a side in as much as it is praying for peace and liberation for all. See the difference of the entry point there. I want to read for you this Radiant Sutra here, and it's Sutra number 154. Breath flows in, breath flows out, traveling always the curving path of the goddess. Breath flows spontaneously of its own will. Thus, all breathing beings continually give reverence to her. Be conscious of the unconscious prayer, for she is the most holy place of pilgrimage. She wishes for you to enter this temple, where each breath is adoration of the infinite for the incarnate in form. So this goddess that is the curving path of our diversity as peoples, all breathing beings, even as we're breathing, we're giving a reverence by existing. We have an entrance point. We have a way that we can come into these very difficult situations, whether we're part of the hostility or whether we're trying to find a way to understand our place in the world in relation to it. And we're reminded that we are called to be conscious more and more and more of the unconscious prayer, because the goddess is the most holy pilgrimage. It is, that breath is the pilgrimage. And the call is that we're called to consciously come into the temple. What? Of the infinite in incarnate form. Incarnate form. That's all form. That's all form. So we are really called to go beyond our sentiments and our biases. We can have all these reasons that we collect all our thoughts to be for or against a person, a thing, a country, a belief system, whatever it might be. But ultimately, the path of healing is one where we come in at that entry point. And from that entry point, we understand all. It doesn't mean that we don't have sentiments or sadnesses or understandings of the limitations of the individuals in power, the woundedness of every single person in power, everybody. I have yet to see any individual that has held great power in this world and not had a certain woundedness. Even individuals like Gandhi, who was an incredible instrument of nonviolence as a path to peace. He himself is very transparent about his struggles. He himself is transparent about his struggles. Now, if he shines a light on his own limitations, how much more do individuals in power who are unconscious of these things have woundedness that we are meant to acknowledge and hold, because they are the breath of the goddess. The goddess is breathing them into form just as much, just as much. It's interesting because I was doing admin work yesterday afternoon, and I had on the background the second in the trilogy of the Lord of the Rings. I like rewatching these kind of fantasy, sci-fi sorts of things that play out dark and light. And at one point, Gandalf says so eloquently, he's sitting next to Frodo, and Frodo becomes aware that Gollum, that little creature that used to maybe be a hobbit, Smeagol, but now he's obsessed with the ring and has that dual personality. Gollum has been following them all along, and Frodo has just become aware that somebody's following them. And Gondor points out who it is. And Frodo's first inclination is that Gollum should just really be killed, period, just be killed. And Gondor said, I think he has a part to play. My intuition says, whether it's for good or evil, he has a part to play in the whole scheme of liberation. Now, that's incredibly provocative if we were to apply that to how we look at world affairs, to really apply that everyone's playing a part for something that could end up very good. Interesting, right? Doesn't condone unjust things happening, but it situates our entry point a bit more powerfully. And I want to read this poem. I'm going to read it again at the end of our meditation. It's from Thomas Aquinas, and I have used it before, but I think it's been a few years. The limbs of a tree reached down and lifted me, thinking I was its child. And in the meadows, my spirit becomes so quiet that if I put my cheek against the earth's body, I feel the pulse of God. Tell me the way you do that, birds. Enter the private chambers of my Lord. And they all sang. They just sang. I gathered it was time to become a musician, and I did. Years passed, and the sky reached down one day and lifted me. The birds noticed and spoke. How do you enter the sun like that and know the pulse of God? I wanted to bring this poem into today because it shines another light on our entry point into being instruments of peace. First, there is a closeness to the presence in nature, Thomas experiences. Second, there is an awakening to see that the birds who are singing are in the private chambers, are in union, in private counsel with the ineffable source. Because the birds didn't say, do this, do that. They just sang because they were there. And then third, inspired from these things, this author, Thomas is the author, but we don't know in what vein he's writing. There is a simplicity in which he changes his focus. So from these insights, he gathered it was time to become a musician, and he did. And then one day the sky reached down and lifted him, and he entered the sun, knowing the pulse of God in all things. Simplicity that leads to flexibility. and it is flexibility that leads to harmony and peace. It's never rigidity. It's flexibility that holds to the tenets of our universal call to peace. We are going to chant a very ancient mantra considered one of the most powerful ones for peace in the world. And at many kirtans, if you ever go to a kirtan, which is usually a Hindu-based time of chanting, almost always it ends with this chant, Loka. And I know we've chanted it at least once. I'm going to give you the translation, and then we're simply going to chant it. Super easy tune. I've chanted it before, and just jump in as you're able to. The words are Loka, Samasta, Sukhino, Bhavantu. Loka, Samasta, Sukhino, Bhavantu. And when we get to the end of that, we'll sing Om Shanti Om. Universal consciousness, peace, universal consciousness. We're going to do this for all the world today. So Loka means realm, location, all the universes existing right now. Samasta means all beings sharing that location. Isn't that brilliant? Sukhino, that there would be freedom from suffering, that all beings are centered in happiness and joy. Bhav is a divine mood. It's a state of unified existence. So if you ever hear someone say, I had the bhav, that means they went into a deep state of bliss. And Antu, the second part of the last word, may it be so. It must be so. Isn't that beautiful? The most popular form of translation for this mantra is this: may all beings everywhere be happy and free. And may the thoughts, words, and actions of my own life contribute in some way to that happiness and to that freedom for all. So it lets us participate in the spiritual evolution, and it lets us participate in blessing the world. All right. So you're just going to join in as you're able, and let me actually put these words, just in case you don't remember them, in the chat box. Okay, they're in the chat box, so you can see them there. There's numerous ways you can spell that, but that's one spelling, right? I invite you to close your eyes. And we who are being breathed forth as the goddess, we come to that simplicity, knowing we are children on the path, participating in this creation. We do not have to have all the answers. We do not need to know where to go. We have only to open ourselves that we may become conscious of how we are the infinite in form and how all is the infinite in form. Inviting in a breath. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. 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 Om Shanti Om. Om Shanti Om. Om Shanti Om. Shanti Om. Shanti Om. Om Shanti Om. Om Shanti Om. Om Shanti Om. Shanti Om. Shanti Om. Om Shanti Om. Om Shanti Om. Om Shanti Om. Shanti Om. Shanti Om. Ending the breath. When you are ready, open the eyes. Blessings, my friends.